Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling stories. Today, we are presenting part one of our two-part interview with Philadelphia saxophonist, composer, and educator Robert Landham. We ask you to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Thank you. Enjoy the video. Hi, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz. Today, we have my big brother, my homeboy, the wonderful saxophonist and educator, Mr. Robert Landham. Brother Rob, how you doing?
Pretty good, my brother Antonio. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great.
Happy New Year, man.
Same to you.
All right.
It's an honor and privilege for me to be able to interview you. I don't know, but we've known each other for almost 40 years.
That's about right, bro.
I think I was about 12.
It's like maybe even a little longer than that, man.
No, not
40 years.
Not even 40. I think we're hitting 40 years, but not. Don't make me that old now. And so, but even in knowing someone for that long, there's things that we don't know about each other. So, So what we do here is, this is a forum for us to discover, more about who you are. You did?
Yeah.
So the first question I like to ask people is, I'm going to ask you, who is Robert Landham? We ain't talking about the strong man.
Who am I? Well, I know when I first started to come to play music in school, I was looking for, some way to express myself because I had some problems and whatnot, some personal problems, and it caused me to go inside myself. So I'm kind of introverted and stuff like that. That was the old me and stuff like that. Right now I'm more out there, but so I was looking for some way to get this out, and I remember when I was in school, in third grade they were offering piano lessons. I'm like, oh, pick me, and stuff like that, and for some strange reason they always passed right by me, So if they had picked me at that time, I would probably be a good piano player right now.
Yeah. So who is Rob Landham? Like who? Like
getting sidetracked.
You just speak.
That's well, I mean that's a wide open-ended question, brother. Yeah.
It's cool. It's a trick question.
Oh, okay, it's a trick question.
You're a father, right?
Yes, I am. I'm a father of two. I have two beautiful daughters. The oldest one's getting ready to turn 17, and the youngest one is just turned 11. Wow. And they're with me here today in town and whatnot, and
you're an educator.
I've taught at Settlement Music School for like 10 years as jazz band director there, and I have toured the world with a number of musicians, Teddy Pendergrass, the Duke Ellington Orchestra. I played on Emeril Live, the guy that used to go bam, bam, bam with all the stuff, the cooking and all stuff like that. So,
but let me, you for me, your friend, you always been a cool big brother.
Oh, cool.
We both from the city of brotherly shove, as my man Keith Kilgo would like to say. Right. Yeah. Philadelphia. You're Philadelphia.
That's right.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. Yep. Just like you.
So what part of Philly are you from?
When I was born, we lived in North Philadelphia.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Myrtlewood Street.
So did you come up in North Philly, or you were born in North
Philly?
Well,
I was born and lived in North Philadelphia.
Near the Temple? Over there in the Temple?
Well, no. A little. I guess it's around the Temple University area, 29th and Masters or something like that, Myrtlewood Street. But when I was a young boy, about 4 years old, we moved up to what they call West Oak Lane.
Gotcha.
And now I was up in that area until about 12, 13. Then we moved over to East Oak Lane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, before we learn about your early development in music, which we're going to talk about, let's talk about Philly. Growing up in Philly, what they call it, the city of brotherly love.
Right.
But I think it's turned into the city of brotherly shove. But coming up in art, and you know, when we came up, what was that environment like in Philly? I mean, was it family? You know, we used to have neighborhoods. Now, you know, they call them hoods.
Right.
What was it like for you coming up in Philly? I mean, did you have to, like, I had to fight, but you could fight someone back in the day.
Right.
And then you could be friends an hour later or the next day.
Right.
You know?
Well,
so, you know.
That wasn't my experience, man. You know, when I was in school and stuff like that, I didn't experience, I didn't seem to experience the world as it being hostile or something like that. Like, you know, I was dealing with thugs here and you know, gangsters there like that. It didn't occur to me that way. I think I got into music when I was in 5th grade. Okay. Yeah, and a lot of my life came out of just playing and stuff like that. So I went to Philadelphia All School for band and orchestra. Yeah. You know, and I was going to Settlement Music School. That's where I got most of my musical training and stuff like that.
But what was it like in your neighborhood? Like, what was it like?
Oh, my neighborhood. Well,
was it? What was the environment like? Was it? What is it?
Well, I'll say this much: we had a really, like a picture perfect childhood. Is what I would say. You know, because it was all the neighborhood kids would come outside and play. Yeah. You know, in the driveway, we played handball. We had this our own version of baseball, where we take a ball and hit it with a hand like that and run around.
Did y'all play stickball?
No, we didn't play stickball. Yeah. We had this thing called, like I said, a handball and stuff like that. You know,
we used to cut out crates and nail it to like a pole, man, and be playing basketball. It was a lot of fun. I tell young people, we were creative, man. We made go-karts and
big time, man.
You know, and we used to play tops in the street, tackle in the street, and all that.
Right.
So when we came up, man, I mean, you had to worry about straight bullets.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
but we used to play. We used to use our our minds, our imaginations. We used to play this thing called Spectre Detector. We used to have this device that we used to go and try to find people and stuff like that. You know, we were just making stuff up.
Yeah, so it was and then, when I came up, the elders would come out and they might sit in front of they have a chair in front of the neighborhood.
Right.
And it was a community. It was
That's true, man.
And so I just want to give people a backdrop of the kind of environment, that we came up in.
Well, I remember my next door neighbor, Mr. Dorsey. He used to be out. I just remember him just cutting his grass a lot. I'm like, what is it with this whole thing about cutting grass and stuff like that? But that's, a thing of being connected with the earth and stuff like that. But I remember a lot of him doing that. I remember that the adults used to watch us. They would definitely check out what was going on with the children as they were playing.
And you respected the adults.
Big time. Big time. You cannot, you couldn't curse at them or say anything foul or,
So did these experiences affect your value system today?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
And I just think it's important to know Philly was a cultural mecca for me. I mean, now we're going to talk about music.
Right.
Okay, so, it was just beautiful to grow up, with the resources that we had to learn music. Mm-hmm. Man, I was blessed. And, I'm sure you can say the same thing. But let's talk about how'd you get started in music?
Well, like I said, it was in the 3rd grade. They passed me up for piano lessons. And then when I got to the 5th grade, we had this new kid to come into our class. And so they offered him clarinet lessons, and he declined because he already played guitar. So I blurted out, "Hey, pick me." And that's how I got picked to start music, playing clarinet. I started off as a clarinetist, like that,
Oh, so you started with clarinet?
Yes.
Before you moved to saxophone?
That's exactly
So how
right.
long were you playing clarinet before you switched to sax?
About 2 years. But the thing is that I still played clarinet. I still, but I picked up the saxophone 2 years after I started playing, because it was like I was in the 5th grade, and then when I got to junior high school, Wagner Junior High School, in the 7th grade, over the summertime is when I picked up the saxophone. I actually taught it to myself because it's similar to the clarinet.
So were you good? Were you a good clarinetist? Did you pick it up? Did music come easy for you?
Yeah, I think so, because of the whole factor of wanting to express myself in some sort of way. Mm-hmm. So music came really easy,
Really. So did you start when you learned how to play music? Did you start formally, or you say you started in the school? So
yeah,
did you have to learn your notes, or were you playing by ear?
No. I definitely was trained formally and stuff like that. I had the first teacher's name was Mr. Ballier or something like that. He taught me. I know one thing. He didn't let me take the instrument home until I could assemble it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like he wouldn't let me take it home until I could assemble it. So, he spent like 3 weeks trying to show me how to put the instrument together.
Wow.
I only saw him once a week or so like that. So,
And that clarinet is hard, man. I'm still trying to make that. And was that bridge, man, and and maneuvering through that.
But it's a mental thing, though. You know that.
What you mean?
It's getting over the break is like, thinking that you can. Like, for me, it was non-existent. The break, I wasn't even thinking about a break. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of people, when they train on clarinet, they maybe the teachers kind of emphasize that there's a break here or something like that. You got to get over this break and like, so I wasn't even thinking that way.
So it was natural for you.
Yeah. I took to the clarinet. It was just like you said, it was a very natural thing.
So did you? So you chose the clarinet, or was it something special about the clarinet that?
Well, it was the only thing that was available at the time,
okay,
like that. So, but it was the right choice.
Okay.
Because I my hands, the way my fingers fit on the thing, it's just perfect.
Wow.
Perfect embouchure. I'm not trying to brag or anything like that.
No, go ahead and brag. I want you to brag, baby.
No, I don't brag. But no, I apparently I had the right qualifications for playing clarinet. Like I said, good finger placement, a good strong embouchure and stuff like that.
Now you have a very unique sound on saxophone. Does that come from the sound that you heard playing clarinet?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, man, because ever since I've heard you, your alto sound is like. It's different. It's almost classical in a sense, but it's
right.
It's and we're gonna talk about it later. That concept through singing while you're playing.
Right.
'Cause I hear that when
man.
But you did the clarinet shape the sound that you heard when you was playing saxophone?
I think so. It's like that. I think that when I play an instrument, I'm not thinking about I'm playing this one or playing that one. I'm thinking about just getting my personality to come out,
gotcha.
Through the thing, which is something that when I was in school, when I was in junior high school, I used to save my lunch money, and I would start buying records. That's when I started buying jazz records, and I would always read the liner notes. And I remember reading something that McCoy Tyner said, or John Coltrane said about McCoy Tyner, that you can feel him coming out of his instrument when he plays.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like that. It is. That when I read that, that made me. Okay, you gotta when you're playing, you gotta get yourself out of the notes. Not thinking that I'm manipulating
and
this.
Pushing the buttons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is how it seems like a lot of people play that way.
Yeah. Finger memory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. And I'm still working on.
Right.
But so when you were coming up, were you like, did you stand out from all the other musicians in your band?
You come on, man.
No, it's all about you, baby. No, be honest. Because if you got a gift, right?
Right.
The song says, "This little light of mine."
Right. I'm gonna let it shine.
We gonna let you shine, baby.
Well, there was, I think there was a marked difference in my enthusiasm.
Okay.
In other words, because I wanted to express myself so much, and I didn't have an avenue. Now I have an avenue. Hence, there was so much passion coming out in it.
And that's important for young people to know, because I tell people, like when my mother came home and chose the saxophone for me.
Ah, okay.
Because I went to Catholic, so I went to St. Ignatius. Shout out to St. Ignatius, West Philadelphia. And my mother I remember her coming home one day, and they were starting a band program at the school, music program, and she chose, I didn't know what the saxophone was. I said, yeah, I'll do it. She chose trumpet for my brother.
Ah.
And for some reason, it took a long time for maybe a couple weeks. So I'm sitting in band while everybody playing, and I'm waiting for my horn to come in. Mm-hmm. Man, when that thing got here, I ripped that thing out the bag. I had a con, and I knew that's what I wanted to do at the age of 10, and it shaped my whole life. So the point I'm trying to say is, when you mention about you said something about a drive. You had an internal drive.
That's right.
To do it.
Right.
And that's why you were successful in it.
Right.
And a lot of times people, they are in college. They don't really know what they want to do.
Right.
And I think one of the beautiful things about, I know my experiences, and I'm hearing from you, is that at a very early age, you found something that you were passionate about.
Exactly. Yep.
That shaped your whole future. Something that nobody had to tell you to practice. Nobody had to tell you.
Right.
You found something, it was intrinsically driven or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right.
And so that's why that's very important. You also have a brother that's a musician. So do you come from a musical family? We're gonna talk about brother Byron Wookie Landham. Do you come from a musical family?
Well, I mean, in a certain sense, because my uncles had a singing group. They were called the Moods.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were produced by Darrell Hall and John Oates, if I'm not mistaken. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So they back in the.
Were they crooners?
Well, yeah. Yep. Crooners. They had they were on TV one time back in the mid-'70s. I think they were on a show that was based out of Atlantic City. What was that show called? I can't remember. But they were on this TV show, that was based out of Atlantic City and stuff like that. And I remember them coming on singing their hit song. They called me King Hustler.
I'm going to go look at it. They called me King Hustler?
King Hustler.
Is that still out?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's your uncles?
Yep.
Wow. I remember in Philly, man, when you would come up, man, you be in the subway and people be singing or crooning, man. It was just. Are they from Philly? Are your uncle?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so. How did your brother Byron Landham? I mean, he was a fabulous drummer in his own right. How, did he choose drums? How did that happen? Did he say, "Okay, my big brother playing something, let me get it"?
I think it was a little bit of that. You know what? When I was playing with. I went to Europe when I was like 16 years old with this Odean Pope Saxophone Choir.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later.
Right, got you. But I think that is what initially motivated him, because he saw that group. We did something on...
Oh, you went at 16?
Yes, yeah.
And he's... No, he had to start before that because
No. He started, first of all, Byron is 5 years younger than I am, almost 6 years younger than I am.
Oh, wow, okay. Okay, yeah.
All right, so I'm trying to think. I think he picked up his instrument like a couple years, 3 years, 4 years after I started or something like that. Can't remember something like that, but he saw like us performing on a TV show one time. He saw the drummer, this guy named Cornell Rochester. And Cornell Rochester's a monster, you know that. And so he got inspired by that.
Really?
Besides, he also got inspired somewhat by me. But he really likes Cornell and stuff like that. So he wanted to play drums and be like that.
So were you like a big brother? Did he listen? Like, were you giving him? Do this. Do this. Did he look up to you? Did he look up to you?
Yeah, he did look up to me, but I don't know if it was like, you're not doing that right. Do this, No,
I'm just saying, but he respected your knowledge, I guess, of music, and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Man, and so what was it like for you two coming up together doing music?
I think a lot of what I remember is I would be over down in the basement practicing, and he would come down and actually play along. We do like drum, like a Coltrane, Elvin Jones type of duo and stuff like that. And he remembers when we used to have Chris McBride come over the house and
Really?
yeah, and
Chris
like
McBee?
Yep, your boy, you went to school with him.
Yes, sir. We're gonna talk about that.
So I remember one time they were all over the house and I was showing them, that you got to learn stuff from the records, So we put a record on. We had a needle at the time. You put the needle down on the record on the LP, and then I would show them, a transcription that I learned.
Yeah.
And I remember that they started to kind of work with stuff like that after a while,
Wow.
starting to do transcriptions.
It's funny because I remember when I was younger and I came over your house, and I think I was getting a lesson or something, and man, you played Sonny Rollins. You played it on a record,
Right.
and you played the solo note for note. I mean, and I'm like, it was like blew my mind because them records played a little sharp or something. Would you put your mouthpiece pushing that? They were a little sharp or something, weren't they? It wasn't right on. Were the records right on?
Yeah,
Really?
I think so. Yeah,
Man, I used to think the records were a little, maybe because I was listening to them old Bird records that they
well, maybe your turntable was too fast.
that could be that too. But man, I remember that, man. You did, I don't know which solo you did, was it Ole or whatever, but man, you were playing it on alto.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So it must have been good for like Byron to have a cat that could. So you taught him music in a way, right?
Well, I mean, you can say in a way it's like that, but Byron was trained formally. Byron went to some music school and he studied with a guy named Ray Bruckno on drums, and so Byron had a good musical foundation and stuff like that. And the thing is that I think I was more maybe just inspiration for him, as far as like getting to certain levels of playing. And and getting into the different various types of forms of music and whatnot, So I think he was just watching, his bigger brother, starting to travel and whatnot.
Okay, so let's talk about settlement. Now, for those of you who don't know, this guy is the first cat one of the first cats that I heard in terms of jazz. When I first heard jazz, I remember walking to Settlement Music School. And we went to the one in South Philly on
That's
Queen
right.
Street.
Yep.
And I remember I was taking saxophone and piano lessons. I was studying with Glenn Stanford on saxophone.
Right.
And I heard this sound coming from the basement, man. And I said, "What is this?" I mean, it was like, "What is this?" And I would go down, man, and it was you, Lewis Taylor,
Right. Yeah.
Leonard Richardson,
Leonard
was on
Richardson,
bass,
yep.
Kevin Otterbridge
Yep.
was
On drums.
on drum. Little Joey DeFrancesco
That's right.
on piano. He was like a real short guy at that time.
That's right.
And man, and under the tutelage or direction of Mr. Lovin Hines, who we're gonna talk about. And man, that blew me away, man. That check when I heard that Saturday, when I heard that said I'm gonna do jazz.
What was it that you
It was just the sound. I don't know if y'all was playing Confirmation or Hot House,
Right.
but I think Mr. Hines used to do what do you call it, the jazz tet or jazz ensemble, man. But
Right.
It was just the sound. It was the energy, man. I was like, and after my lesson, I would come down there
Right.
and just listen. You remember, man?
I remember you studying.
And so, man, let's talk about Settlement Music School. How'd you get to go? Were you studying at Settlement?
Yeah. I mean, I started at Settlement in '77.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I was in 7th grade, and studying clarinet all the way up to high school from '77 to '82.
So you wasn't studying saxophone?
No, I never studied saxophone formally.
Wow.
I didn't study with anybody. I think my teacher in school gave me a couple lessons, but I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I had already taught myself how to play the saxophone.
Okay.
Because it's similar to the clarinet.
And so you were taking lessons. So where did you meet Mr. Hines? Did you meet Mr. Hines at Settlement?
Yeah, I did.
So how did that come about with that aggregation of musicians? Was there anybody else that I missed?
No, you got everybody.
Okay.
You got everybody. It all happened because we used to go to this, we had this music camp that Settlement used to have. It was called the Better Break Music Camp.
Yeah.
And I went there first in 1977, summer of 77, and that's where I met Lewis Taylor and stuff like that. And I think Kevin came like a year later or something like that. But that's where I met Mr. Hines, and that's where I met Mr. Odean Pope.
Wow. Did I mention Lewis Taylor was there? Yeah, Lewis was.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Man. And so Better Break.
Yeah.
That was something put on by Settlement?
Yes, yeah. That was their music camp. That's what they called it, Better Break Music Camp.
So when I was at Settlement, we were going to, it was called Settlement Music Camp. I don't know why they changed it.
They changed it, I don't know why.
But but that's, man. And so y'all would rehearse on Saturdays, right?
If we were in Settlement.
Yeah.
In Settlement, yeah, we have rehearsals on Saturdays.
Yeah, because I would go for my lessons.
That's correct. Yep.
And so how'd y'all meet Joey? How'd you meet Joey?
Joey, his father brought him in. He was like 11 years old. He brought him in one day to our rehearsal because they were we have this talented son and stuff like that. We need to hook him up with a group, and have him develop himself further. So he brought him in, and he sat in and played the blues with us and stuff like that. And say, oh wow, look at this kid, and that's how that all happened, stuff like that. He continued on with us.
Man, that is something, man. So did you watch Joey grow? Like,
yes, yeah,
From those early experiences,
yeah.
Could you actually see? Because to me, it sounded like he was just always playing. Like,
no. Well, when did you meet him? You met him.
I met him in it had to be. I was 12, early 80s, man. It was, maybe 83, 84, something.
Or 80. Well, see, that was after the period where he was with us because we were in Settlement.
It was early.
We were there from 1980 to 82, I think it was.
So you know what? Because I was in middle school, so it might have been 81, 82.
All right, okay.
Because I graduated middle school. Yeah, maybe 81, 82. But whenever it was, my memory ain't all that. But
I thought you met him in high school.
No, I met Joey. I was when I first saw you guys. I was in. I was like in 6th or 7th grade. I went to a Catholic school that we went from kindergarten up to 8th. So I think I was like in 6th grade or something.
Right.
And I would start taking lessons, and that's when I heard you guys, man. It was like fascinating, and so. But all of you guys became friends over time, especially you and Lou. Talk about Lewis Taylor, man.
Well, that's my best buddy and stuff like that. And it's funny that like all these Philadelphia saxophone players always seem to have a partner. Like you and Don Ward are partners. Like me and Lewis Taylor, Jaleel Shaw, and what was his buddy's name? Goodness gracious, Jonathan Blake. But John Blake is like a drummer or something like that. Yeah. But he had a partner, and this is other younger saxophone players really talented, which is Emmanuel Wilkinson and his partner Yassay Farrar.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's comes in pairs and stuff like that, man. Always got pairs. But Lewis Taylor, man, we met in 78. I think that was 78. No, we met in 77.
Okay.
We both went to the camp in 77. We didn't get picked for the jazz band until the next year.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's how we met Mr. Hines, because you asked about that earlier. And Mr. Hines, what it was is Odean Pope was first running the jazz ensemble, but Odean Pope started to play. He had previously played with Max Roach in his career, and Max Roach started to hire him again.
Okay.
So he had some sort of European tour, and he had to leave because we were doing our 6-week music camp and stuff like that, and then we were going to do this performance at the end of at the camp. but he had to leave for Europe before that all before we got to do the performance. So Mr. Hines had to take over for him.
Oh wow!
And that's how Mr. Hines assumed his role at Settlement Music School.
So did you? So you and Lou developed a certain kind of kinship, a friendship, right?
Right.
Now, was it competitive musically? Were y'all competitive?
Yeah, we some, but really, we were on a really friendly basis and like that. I mean, we didn't look at it like, I'm gonna tear you up, man. And nothing like that. It's like that. We, I don't know, maybe in a certain sense, stuff like that. But we definitely
y'all kept each other.
We definitely
sharp,
kept. Yes,
like,
yeah.
Iron, what is that? Iron sharp as iron.
we definitely, it was like, I remember, years ago when I started to play giant steps like that, I was like, what you gonna do with that now? And then he, and then he started playing and whatnot and stuff. But yeah, we it was, it's so funny. I don't remember it being competitive, but I guess it was. I don't know.
Yeah. So you did a lot of transcribing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Did Lou was Lou transcribing?
Lou, he's the transcription king and stuff like that. We
Really?
both. I did transcribe, but Lou still transcribes to this day.
Really?
Yeah, he's always.
So when y'all transcribed, were y'all writing it down, or did you? But you just doing it by ear?
I personally didn't believe in writing it down. I always thought that you should internalize the whole thing. You should have it in you. You know what I'm saying? It should be a part of you.
So did Lou?
I think Lewis is the same way. He also didn't write it down too much. Okay. I don't get me wrong. I did write down a couple things. I remember when I started doing Wayne Shorter's solo on the Sorcerer. I actually wrote a part of that down and stuff like that. But I didn't. I was kind of trying to analyze it, but I didn't really write down solos that much.
Speaking of Wayne Shorter,
right?
I know this because I know you. He had a real profound impact on you.
Big time.
So who were some of the musicians, and what like I know Train did, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But Wayne Shorter, what was it about Wayne Shorter that attracted you?
I think what I really dug about Wayne Shorter is just that every note has a meaning to it. Every note is so. First of all, his tone is so gorgeous. Yeah. So there was this thing of quality in his playing, not so much quantity but quality. Uh-huh. Like if he just plays one note, it has such a sound to it that you just gravitate towards it, and that's what I recognize about him. Because I think the first record that I bought of his was Schizophrenia. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't overplaying, wasn't playing a lot, but what he played was so tasty. It was like, oh wow,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And he had a rhythmic concept,
yes,
as well.
Yeah, well, it was always nasty with that, man.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah. So was he your biggest influence as a saxophonist?
I would say so. I mean, even over Coltrane, it seems like. I love John Coltrane.
Yeah.
But Wayne Shorter, I think because of the sing-songy nature of his playing, he's singing through the horn. Yeah. And not to say that other saxophonists, I was going to say that, man. They all sing and stuff like that, but Wayne is really concentrating on singing.
I get it, yeah. So why didn't you pick up tenor? Like, why did you just go to tenor?
That's a good question, bro. That's a good question. You know what? I think that alto is the voice that I really heard. Like, and I was never interested in producing an alto sound that is really high pitched. Yeah. And thankfully for you, it's so like that. I say, well, you don't have a tone like that. You have a fatter sound than I would say a lot of alto saxophonists, because it seems like most cats.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Well, I call it. I think like a tenor player when I'm playing alto.
Right.
So maybe, I don't know if that has something to do with it.
You got that Philly thing going on, man. That's what's
it's Philly? Hey, man, I'll take it. Yeah. So, wow, man. So, going back to Love It, let's talk about Mr. Hines. Okay. Now, Mr. Hines is like an institution in Philly.
Absolutely.
And what do you remember about Love It Hines? How did he... I mean, what is his legacy, if you will, like, in terms of all the people that's come through him? I mean, you,
right.
Lou, Kevin, Leonard, Joey, Chris McBride, myself, Jaleel Shaw.
That's right.
Emmanuel
Wilkins.
Wilkins, yeah. And I mean, The list goes on.
Well, Mr. Hines, I think Mr. Hines just knew what to tell us to develop us.
Yeah.
We'd be in rehearsal, and he knew how to open a song up. Put a vamp going on here, have somebody solo here, and stuff like that. He knew how to orchestrate.
Yeah.
And so I think that was his strength and stuff like that. And getting us to be able to make something happen with the music as opposed to just playing what's on the page. Because I think you hear a lot of young people these days, and they're fantastic players, but they don't seem to know how to open a song up and make it do something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know his favorite word?
What's that?
Do you know?
Oh, you say Mr. Hines' favorite word? Cats. The cats.
The cats.
The cats.
My man.
My man.
My man. Yes, but man, let me tell you something, man. I remember my first time trying to solo. I was in band, big jazz solo. I didn't know nothing about no chord changes.
Right.
I started playing anything.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, man, you got to play this thing. Yeah, man. But he was always encouraging. And man, and I think he liked me because I was trying to get it, man. I was a cat trying to figure it out. I was determined to play this music.
Right. Yeah.
I don't, and looking back, I don't think I had natural talent.
Oh man, come on with that.
No.
Come on, bro.
No, I don't think Christian McBride and Joey,
right,
and even yourself, y'all have more natural talent. What I mean by that is, natural music talent. I had a talent because I worked. I was like, I loved it, and I was willing to work hard for it, but it didn't like. To me, it was like a big puzzle. Music was like a big puzzle. And I don't know, if I could go back, I would approach it the way you approach it, like playing with the records.
Right.
And I tell people, some people analyze music, and some people synthesize.
Right.
And so I was more of I saw music, okay, chord changes.
Right, right.
Instead of thinking music. And I had to, and so as I've evolved, I'm starting to understand, trying to hear and listen to the whole.
Right.
I still analyze, but but you guys, man, y'all had to. Like for example, you have a concept. You play off the sound.
Right. Correct. Right.
As opposed to saying, okay, there's a C7, I can do this, and I'm playing using finger memory and my patterns and all that. But it's about that's the highest level when you can play off of maybe the voicings and the sound.
Right, man.
So is that how you approach it?
Yeah, well, I talked to you about this before, but my thing is called melodic balancing.
Wow.
And I definitely, and the thing is, I learned chords and scales and stuff like that. You have to learn those things because that right there, I think, is necessary to know the mechanics of what you're doing. So we learn this, but ultimately, I think that it's all about hearing what it is that you're doing.
Okay.
And so as I was telling you before, years ago I was listening to a WRTI, the radio station in Philadelphia, and they were playing this recording with Slim Stewart, bass player who's famous for singing while he's soloing.
Wow. And
I'm like, listening to this guy soloing, I'm like, how's this cat singing every note that he's playing? How can you do that? So then I started thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute. I got to develop that same thing. I got to develop that ability to do that. I got to be able to control my notes. So I started to say, if I just sing along with it, then I'll be able to control the notes.
When you're playing?
Yes. So I started practicing scales, singing the notes with the horn.
Wow.
So that now I'm getting my essence, my spirit out of the notes.
Wow.
And of course, when I told you I read liner notes and stuff like that, I also... Coltrane was talking about he would play things that he hear.
Okay.
So it's all about what you hear is like that, because if you're hearing this stuff, you're actually directing the energy.
Wow. More
than as if you're playing by finger memory, where you're not.
And is that behind your concept? I know you have a concept called melodic balancing.
Yes.
Tell the people, what's melodic balancing?
Melodic balancing is being able to.
Did you coin that term?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on record. Melodic balancing. You good?
I thank you, bro. I thank you very much. been meaning to publish for a while.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think there are people who do this concept. They may call it something else, but that this is what I call it. But it is an energy thing. It is where you introduce a musical idea. It's like conflict and resolution. You introduce an idea, but how do you resolve it?
Okay.
How do you actually take it and make it into something?
Okay.
So my whole thing is when I train it, it's about at first traversing a scale in diatonic movement. You go up the scale or down the scale, deciding which direction you're going to go in, or you can repeat a note. You can hold on to a note because it's not always necessary to move. It's like a chess game, basically, or in martial arts, if you are playing Chisao with somebody, you're trying to determine what their energy is and whether or not, they have their mathematics are off, then you can penetrate them. So it's the same thing, it's you're playing a note and you're trying to decide what is the best energy choice for right now. Should I move right here or should I stay still?
Wow.
Based upon a melody,
Now, how do you balance that with? That seems very. Is it scientific?
I mean, I think it's scientific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, music is also, we want to inject emotion.
Right.
So how do you balance that with bringing emotion with that?
Well, I think
Because some cats can get into playing very scientific.
Right.
Some cats deal with numbers, but like when I hear Train and when I hear Bird, man, beyond all of that, it's the emotional impact.
big time.
Of their music. So how do you? Is there a way to? Does that connect with melodic balancing in any way, or you have to that's just a personal thing, or individual thing?
No, it very much connects with melodic balancing. It's all about the energy, control of the line of energy. It's like speaking words or writing a term paper. If you are expressing yourself and you choose the wrong word to express your idea, you're gonna all of a sudden the energy is gonna go this way.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's heavy, yeah.
But so when you pick the correct phrases, the correct words, when you pick the correct notes, your energy goes like this.
Wow.
It keeps soaring.
Wow.
So it's all about creating this ultimate impact.
Wow.
So if you're not controlling the energy, it can go all over the place and dissipate all over the place. But this is about
Man, you should have a ton of students. We gonna get you some students out
right.
there. He said melodic balance. I mean, that's because there are levels to this thing. That's what people don't understand. That's why we do this, man. Because it's like what's behind the music. It's like cats it's so many, But that concept is, I'm gonna work on that because I'm gonna get with you on that because.
Right, man.
You get to at a certain point, just dealing with it from fingerprint, you hit a wall.
Right.
And it's about how do you get over that wall? How do you like you say, control the energy? So and speaking of energy, I know that you also was influenced by the life and teachings of the great martial artist, if I should call him that.
Yes.
Bruce Lee.
Absolutely.
And so how did Bruce Lee impact you and your concept of life and music and philosophy?
Oh man, I tell you, this dude, man. Well, when I was a kid, I first saw him in the screen at 8 years old, and you talking about just an ultimate impact. I mean, just from seeing that movie, I think I saw, of course, the first movie was they called it The Fist of Fury, but it was actually called The Big Boss over in China. And we saw that, but then the next movie, The Chinese Connection, which is really called Fist of Fury, that movie impacted me so deeply because I think the racial theme of it, you have the Chinese school and then you have this rival Japanese school who is just, for some reason, giving these Chinese people hell and stuff like that, with their presence, almost like saying, well, we're superior to you for no reason, whatever. And his whole response to, what they did, they killed his teacher and whatnot and stuff. And he basically was like, I'm not going to sit down and let these people run over us and stuff like that. And there was something about that, his incredible skills, in fighting that was just so inspirational. I mean, just seriously inspirational. I mean, the ending of the movie, we leaps up in the air in defiance of them, and they shoot him. I mean, it was something that just touched me deeply.
Did you connect it with music?
Absolutely, man.
I know the discipline.
That was the thing. It's like, I think that's what made me want to be good at something, because of the skill that I saw him and the emotion of it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I wanted to be good like that.
Wow. Are you still influenced? Like, does he still his philosophy? Because he also has some philosophy. You become the water. You become.
Well, yes. Well, that right there is very central to my whole modus operandi, which is, I think you should always have a philosophy behind what you're playing, not just be just playing musical notes and stuff like that. You should, why are you playing this and stuff like that, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, my whole thing is there is a philosophy behind what I'm playing, and so it's the notes are deeper than just, this note against this chord. Excuse me.
Yeah. So, and we're going to take a little break in a minute, but
sure.
A couple things I want to add. First of all, what was I like coming up? I know I just crazy.
Well, one thing I remember about you, man, you were always a well-dressed guy. It's like that.
Okay, baby.
Always GQ, big time,
Really?
man. Yes. And then I remember you, of course, you were a little slimmer back then.
I've been eating the beef burgers, baby.
And you had this slick hair. I remember that big time.
That was the natural juices.
Yeah. So you were GQ, man, big time.
Really?
And then I remember you were my young boy and stuff like that. You coming up underneath me playing saxophones like that. You used to be into Grover. It's like, my man is Grover, man. I was like, man, you need to get with some Coltrane.
Yeah. But what's happening?
But we love Grover, of course.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about Grover in the next part. But and you know what's crazy, man? But I was also in the Bird.
Right.
I was in the Grover and Bird. But I remember, man, I remember telling you about. Oh man, that was funny, man. So I forgot what I was gonna say, but
right.
So I had a lot of energy, huh?
Always, man.
Yeah.
Always, man. But you had some. I remember you had some fine girlfriends too. You had just one girl. I was like, oh shit. Forgive me. I mean, it was like, oh
Baby,
wow.
You know how we do it?
Man, you had some ladies with you.
Dad, you gonna throw me out there like that? No.
Apparently, it continues on.
Oh man, you funny, man.
Yeah,
But yeah, so. But man, the beautiful thing about knowing someone for 40 years, man, you can see their growth.
Right. Yes.
And development. So y'all guys impacted me, man. I'm like I said, man.
Wow.
I was just fortunate to be around you guys, man. Mr. Hines, you, Christian McBride,
right,
Joey, and we're gonna talk about them later. But man, it was just. That environment in Philly was rich, man. I got to see Hank Mobley at
oh
Natalie's.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Was that, you said it was Natalie's?
At Nat, I was sitting at Natalie's, man.
You must have been in that same day I was there, man.
What? No. I used to go to. I was in high school. I was go to jam sessions. But
right.
I meant to tell. I know what I'm gonna say. I meant to tell you about Train. I couldn't hear Train at first, man.
No.
I had a buddy, my boy. Eddie Holman.
Oh yeah,
Eddie Holman, my man, Eddie Holman. Eddie, when I was in high school, Eddie brought me Train's. My Favorite Things out, because I was into Bird, man. He said, man, check this out. And so I took that joint home, man, and I'm like, well, I couldn't hear it, man, because I was used to Bird. The albums I had on Bird was like, I had some albums with Bird. It was a live, somebody was tape recording them, and it was like, the static was in the album. So that quality was what jazz supposed to sound like to me. Mm-hmm. And when I heard My Favorite Things, it was just too pure. And it was like, whoa, that was over my head.
Wow.
Man, when I really got to really appreciate Train when I got to Howard, and we were going to Spingarn Library, man. Listen, I heard Blue Train, and I'm like, whoa. And then sometimes you got to check out a cat's evolution, because Train had an evolution.
Big time.
And so I would go back. Sometimes you got to go back to understand what's happening now.
So when you first heard Train, was it late period? Or
that My Favorite Things.
Yes, right. My fault.
I couldn't hear it.
Well, I mean, that's understandable, man, because,
and I was in high school.
Right.
But it wasn't because it was just where I was musically.
Right.
And when I didn't want to hear nobody but Bird
Right.
and Grover.
And that's big time different than Bird or Grover.
And so when I so you have to grow in this stuff, man. And so the growth that's the thing, and you got to tell you, it's about the growth.
Right.
And so going back to Bruce Lee, man, there's a how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right.
So his dedication to his craft.
That really comes through, and I mean you don't see the work that a person does, but that really for some reason comes through in his presence. Like you know that he put in a lot of work. You can just feel it.
And another thing I like about Bruce Lee, man,
What's
I
that?
like his confidence.
Right.
It's like when you know that you know.
Yes. Yep. I agree with you.
And it's like
Big time.
Yeah, it's a story about Bird. Somebody told me this story. I forget who told me this story. I think this cat was sitting there with Bird, and he was trying to impress Bird, and I guess he called Cherokee. So the guy said, Bird, he said, what key you want to do it in? Like trying to impress Bird. Like, Bird said, make it easy on yourself. But yeah,
Make it
man.
easy, so it's about right.
Yeah. So before we take a break, man, what is your musical philosophy? Meaning that, why are you doing this thing? And what would you tell young people in order to play jazz or music? Period. What advice would you give them?
Well, my whole thing is music is to me about communication. It's not about showing how well you can play the instrument. Because a lot of musicians, all good musicians, play the instruments well. Mm-hmm. They have all this technique. They have all this theoretical knowledge. It's not about that. It's about communication with people. Okay. It's about something deeper. Mm-hmm. So my whole thing is let your music speak to people. Don't try to impress them. With how well you play the instrument. Okay. And if there was anything I would tell a young musician is that concentrate on those things, okay. Concentrate on communication, because no one cares how well you play the instrument. I mean, it's nice that you play the instrument well, but people care about something that touches them, and that's what I felt with Bruce Lee and stuff like that. I was touched by a power. And it's amazing to think, you got somebody who's just punching people. You've seen a lot of movies where people just punching people, but what was so different about his punch? Yeah. As opposed to other people's punches, because this punch had a lot of philosophy behind it, had a lot of meaning behind it. Wow. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Something deeper than just this technique.
Wow, that's heavy. Well, there you go. You know what I'm saying? It's about communication. So on that note, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back. This is a conversation in jazz with the great Robert Landham. We'll be back.